Hi everyone, Cindy Saddleman here on good old YouTube, Game Show Gumbo. We have another Tiermaker for you. This one is really spur of the moment. Spur of the moment as of a couple of hours ago. A couple of my friends on Facebook have put up a Game Show Tiermaker. There's a whole bunch of shows listed, and they ranked them from instant classics all the way down to trash. More than likely, you're going to see some shows that I've absolutely loved, some shows I talked about on YouTube prior, like 26 weeks or less, maybe some inductions, and all that good stuff. So, with that being said, let's get right to it. There are a lot of shows, so I'm going to breeze through some of them as much as I can. I will say this in advance. Any show that had been inducted cannot go above the 50 tier, which is watchable. And so let's bring up the Tiermaker right now. You see this is off kilter a little bit. I do apologize. But here we go. We have $1 million chance of a lifetime, pyramid, yada yada. We'll talk about that some later. But the tiers: instant classic, great, good, average, watchable, and trash. And you're going to see a pretty good show that you might think is great or an instant classic. I might think is average. But that's the nature of the tier makers. And just let everybody here on YouTube know, I did record this live on Twitch. So if you want to see some other stuff that I do randomly on Twitch, come on over to twitch.tv/SigmaFan. Subscribe. I normally play video games and other random stuff. We're going to have a good time there. But with that being said, we're going to start. We're just going to rip the Band-Aid off. Start with the $1 million chance of a lifetime. I did an induction of the home game, which was pretty bad. It was What If Wheel of Fortune, but worse and cheaper. And with a crayon. The show itself is actually pretty good. I enjoy it a lot. I think Jim Lang was the perfect host for the show in that he let the contestants and the $1 million grand prize be the stars. And that's what he did. And oddly enough, this got really good ratings at the start. It beat Wheel of Fortune, oddly enough. But once somebody, I think in the first couple of months, won the $1 million, it didn't really recover. It got canceled. It was January 86, got canceled September of 87. I think it's a good show. I don't think it's a great show. Now, there are like 3 iterations of Pyramid on here. So, I'm just going to tackle I don't know if all of the versions of Pyramid are on here, but I'm going to tackle the versions that I see on here right now. The Dick Clark CBS ones, $100,000 Pyramid, well, $25,000 Pyramid was on CBS. Put that there. And then you have the $100,000 Pyramid with Dick Clark, the original 80s version, which I think is peak Pyramid play. Which is when people talk about what Pyramid is, they think $100,000 Pyramid with Dick Clark. That goes up there. Then we have the $50,000 Pyramid, which is essentially what it's Pyramid, just with a weird tournament format, and oddly cheaper than what it was on daytime TV. Like, the first time you go up the Pyramid is $5,000. The second time you go up the Pyramid is $10,000. And in order to qualify for the tournament, you have to win this Player of the Week competition where you win a grand prize for getting in the main game the fastest 7 out of 7. That's why the clock in the front game ticked upward instead of down, which was very weird. It was still a good show. Wasn't a great show. It was like let Pyramid rest for a bit. Honestly, 1 versus 100 which out of the mid 2000s game show gold rush, there was one. There wasn't that many good ones. I will say that out of all of them, which would be Deal or No Deal, see, there was a bad revival of Gladiators, Moment of Truth. And I'm just talking about regular old game shows. Deal or No Deal, Identity, Show Me the Money, stuff like that. It was the best out of all of them. Bob Saget was a fantastic host. Honestly, I wish they had stuck to the season 1 format, which was a lot more interesting than the streamlined Money Ladder season 2 variety. Now, when it comes to the GSN version, Carrie Ann Inaba was a step down, but really not much of a step down, because Carrie Ann was a good host. Then you have the $50,000 grand prize, which I think is fine for GSN. GSN never really offered gigantic prizes on their game shows. I think $100,000... No, because somebody won more than $100,000 by himself on The Chase. I think somebody won $125,000 by himself. Yeah, somebody won $125,000 by himself on The Chase. I don't really count American Dream Derby, which is $250,000, and I think that is the most given away on GSN in one fell swoop. I think 1 versus 100 is great. Bargain Hunters, trash. Read the induction on that. Go to the website, gameshowgarbage.com. You'll find out more about that. Blockbusters. I just did a 26 weeks or less on this. The Bill Rafferty version. That version was good. We're going to talk about the Bill Cullen version because that's the logo used, and I think the Bill Cullen version is great. I love the 2 versus 1 format. I think Bill Cullen, when it comes to his hosting gigs, I think Blockbusters was the last great show that he did to really show off his skills. Child's Play was fine. I didn't think he did that well. And then Hot Potato and Joker's Wild, and just age kept up. Age caught him around that time period. So, yeah, great host. And by the way, since we're streaming on Twitch, I want to thank Gemini Saga for the 100 bits. That is much appreciative. And we're going to continue on with Break the Bank. This is the Tom Kennedy Jack Barry version, which ironically is the best version. The show is an interesting Hollywood Squares variant where it's got this 20 box board where you have to find cash amounts, dollar money bags, or the wild card. You get Tom Kennedy poses a question. One celeb will give the correct answer. The other celeb will try to fool you. You got to find the correct answer to get the box. I like it. It's good. However, I just really can't classify it as great. I don't know. I just don't like the Jack Barry version as much as I do the Tom Kennedy version. There are some shows that didn't need a bonus game. Break the Bank, I think, didn't. They added this random bonus game where you have dollar amounts and the word bust. You have to get to $2,000 before hitting the word bust, and if you get to $2,000, you win $5,000. Which is weird because a lot of times Contestants broke the bank on that show for $10,000 in cash and prizes, making the extra $5,000 fine, just not really much of a bonus. Bullseye. This is the Jim Lang version. There are some videos and inductions that I did. There are pushback where this was actually a good show, where I thought it was bad, and there's some shows that I have inducted where I think they're actually pretty decent, where people thought it was bad. This is one of those shows where I thought it was bad, and people liked it. By the way, on Twitch, thank you, Gemini, for the Tier 1 gift sub to Artroxanos. Bullseye is watchable. It's not... I know I inducted it into Game Show Garbage, so people might be thinking, hey, it's trash. It's not really trash. It's fine. Caesar's Challenge. I like word games. It was a fun word game. I love the atmosphere of Caesar's Challenge. And just having it in Vegas at Caesar's Palace added to it. Dan the Centurion was always great. I'm kind of stunned they never actually released those Dan dolls. I mean, maybe mail order the dolls. Like, hey, send us $15. We'll send you this Dan the Centurion doll. Like, that would be good. So Caesar's Challenge. I'm gonna stick it in good. Camouflage with Roger Lodge. Chat is kind of buzzing about this one already. I did it 26 weeks or less on this one. And I will gladly say that if this show was released 10 years later, with this current regime, it would not qualify for 26 weeks or less. I think this would have gotten 3 seasons. It would have gotten about 250 some odd episodes. And you'd probably still see it in reruns. It's another show that gets put in good. It was a good show. I liked the bonus game. And I just enjoy it. Ye Olde Card Sharks. It's the Bob Eubanks logo for this one, so I'll talk about the we'll do Perry, Eubanks, Rafferty on this one, which means I'm just gonna stick it right up there. I think the format is really great. Like the prize money that you could win on the show, it's gettable. It takes a lot of guts and determination to get it. It's gettable. It was only gotten once in the Perry version. Somebody came close in the Eubanks version. Somebody got $29,000 in the Eubanks version. Rafferty, I think a couple of people won over $20,000 on the money cards. But then the Eubanks and the Rafferty version also had the card game, which, even if you didn't win a lot of money on the money cards, you could win a car. Which, if there's like a 1A and 1B of what do you want to win on a game show, 1A, cash. 1B, a car. And that's usually it. And the second tier, the second answer would probably be a vacation. Both sets were good for the time. If there was a version of Card Sharks that I would like to see ran in its entirety on Buzzer, it would be Card Sharks. Apparently, in its original run, like 20 or some odd episodes were skipped and were aired in the back end when the show got canceled, which had the original format before they added the car. And the reason they moved forward with the car format is because they wanted the nighttime version to match the daytime version. At least that's my theory. So, Chain reaction. This uses the photo on here is the Dylan Lane version, which I will say the first one is like Dylan Lane's first run is its weakest. The one that probably comes close is New Chain Reaction with Blake Emmons, but then Jeff Edwards used the same format, and just his presence just increased the quality like 1,000 times. I'm just gonna use this as totality for the entire Chain Reaction franchise. It's good. It's not brilliant. Like, no, like the only version to come with a solid bonus game is the current one that aired on GSN with Dylan Lane, where it was a 4-word chain, a 5-word chain, and then the 6-word chain at the end. You cleared all 3 chains in 60 seconds. You won an additional $10,000 on top of what you won in the front game, which a lot of times was around between $2,000 and $2,500, which ain't too bad. Like, I'll have to say that America Says had like a $15,000 grand prize, which split up over 4 people is better than if it just had a regular old $10,000 grand prize. But I'm ranting here, and we got a lot of shows to get through. Child's Play. Not a fan of it. I will say because you have, like, the front game is slow, and then you have the fast play round, which is just too fat, which is fast to the point where the first half meant nothing because all the correct answers the first round was worth 1 point. I would have loved to see the format where it was 3 points for one definition, 2 points where you needed 2, 1 point where you needed 3. That's how I would have worked that format and probably made the game a lot more fair. And the bonus round is probably the best part of the show. I should say the bonus round when you had the adult giving clues to the kids and not the written definitions. Like, it was fine. It was just there was better, and it got sacrificed to the game show gods for pressure luck, which we're always grateful for. Classic Concentration is one of the game shows that I grew up with as a child. Like, I essentially grew up learning how to spell with Wheel of Fortune and Scrabble. I learned memory through Classic Concentration. And yeah, we'll throw it up top. I'll throw Classic Concentration up top. We got the original Concentration here too. I'll put that in great. This is just age bias. I'll admit completely, this is total age bias. Like, I just thought Classic Concentration was better than the original Concentration. I think out of all of the hosts that Concentration had, I think Alex Trebek was the best. And I think the car bonus game is superb. Better than Double Play on the NARS version. There's something about the NARS version that kind of sticks in my craw after watching a lot of the episodes on Buzzer. But if I was to... So that's why the Concentration that you see right there averages out. Like, the Hugh Downs, Bob Clayton version is instant classic. The Jack Nars version is good, so it just counterbalances. Debt, with Wink Martindale. First season was a Jeopardy knockoff, but it was really well done. Second season, not so much, and then the show died. Mainly because it got the wrong demographic, because it was on Lifetime. Which is weird, because it got good ratings, and yet it got canceled. I guess they wanted to air more intimate portraits, or they need to make room for more movies, I guess. I'll call Debt great. I'll gladly do that. Then you have Deal or No Deal. This is regular Deal or No Deal. This is not Deal or No Deal Island. And with that being said, Deal or No Deal got better with age. I like the syndicated version more than I do the NBC version. I think the CNBC version is the best version of them all. It's another one I'll gladly put in good. Double Dare. This is the Trebek version. This is another one that gets brought up a lot for me to do 26 weeks or less on. I think it's too hard of a quiz for what it was trying to be. The isolation booths and everything like that, like, it's a fine game. I'm not a fan of the spoilers. Like, you really don't need... Like, I never thought Mark Goodson needed villains. Like, you needed to do a better bonus game. Like, you have the board. You pick you pick from, like, you have the 8 clues on the board. You pick the random numbers. If you get it off the first clue you picked, it's $5,000. The 25,000, 2,500, 1,000, 500. If you can't get it off the 4, you win nothing. I think that's the way it should have gone. I'm going to call it average. And then the Double Dare Kids version, yeah, you just go up there. Do I really need to say anything? No, I don't. Good. Yeah, we'll just put Feud up there as well. Controversial, sort of not really... Sorry. Controversial, not really controversial game show hot take. Steve Harvey saved the franchise. Steve Harvey saved the genre. I'm dead serious about that. With the way, when Steve Harvey took over Family Feud in 2010, and clips of Family Feud start going viral thanks to YouTube, social media, and stuff like that, it made game shows cool again. Like, the way he was definitely able to handle contestants who are on, like, 50,000 gallons of Red Bull. That's what I mean. He saved game shows. Because if it wasn't for Family Feud and Steve Harvey, you wouldn't have all these game shows in primetime TV. Celebrity Family Feud and its success. Big ad. And I'm not kidding here. This is just on ABC. Match Game, To Tell the Truth. Pressure Luck. The revival of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Pyramid. Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. Celebrity Jeopardy. And then on NBC, you have Password. And to be honest, we have Steve Harvey to thank for that. He's a GOAT host. I don't know what would happen if Steve Harvey left. I think the show would still be fine, but it's going to be really tough to replace him. And you might see ratings crater again. Greed. Fox did this dirty. They tried to attach It's Your Chance of a Lifetime on it. Didn't work. Even when Greed was only airing on Fridays, it still did well. It's another good show. I wouldn't call it great. But that's just me. I just gotta fix that. Okay. High Rollers. This is the Wink Martindale version. I'm just going to use it as a totalitarian for both the Trebek versions and the Wink Martindale version. I'd say the second Trebek version from 78 to 80 was the best version of High Rollers. Then you have Week Martindale's version, which ran quite a bit on USA and was fine. And then you had the original NBC version. Not a fan of it. I saw somebody uploaded an episode on YouTube on, I want to say, Independence Day or sometime way back when. And I also saw the other remaining episode that is available to the public when I visited the TV museum in LA. So getting to see that was quite fun. I'll still call it great, mainly because the strength of the second Alex Trebek version and the Wink Martindale version. Hitman. This is gonna crush some people. I just think it's watchable. Like, the little documentaries were kind of boring. Wasn't too keen on it. And to be perfectly honest, even though it was arcade based, I just don't see the appeal. Like, the music was fine, the little monsters were fine. The recall was okay. I don't know, it just never really clicked for me. Hollywood Squares, yeah, you're just gonna go up there. And this is just Hollywood Squares by itself. It's not the Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour, which, looking at what's coming up, will be talked about. It is on this list. Then, we talked about Hollywood Squares, the Marshall version, which is a classic. Then the John Davison version, which was the version I grew up with, not only in the original run, but on USA. And the Tom Bergeron version is really damn good. If you want to watch seasons 5 and 6, they're up on Pluto. All episodes are up on Pluto. I think there are a couple episodes missing, just because the tapes were lost. You know, it's kind of hard to keep track of all those shows. But we probably a lot of the fans probably record a lot of them when they got reran on Game Show Network in the mid to late 2000s. Hot Potato. It was a funny. It was a good game. Even though Bill's age definitely caught up to him at this point. Some people call this a Family Feud ripoff. It's not. I like the first to 7 format that they have for the questions. Or there's at least 7 correct answers or more. Not really a fan of the bonus game. I'm honestly not. Like, it just doesn't mesh well with the front game. Set is great. Music's great. Format, not so much. Also, it gets docked points because it went to an all-celebrity format and it got ruined. Bruce Forsyth's Hot Streak. This is another one that people want me to talk about for 26 weeks or less. I think the history of how the show got on the air is better than the show itself. Like, it evolved from a pilot called Party Line, and then you got the Hot Streak pilots by itself with Bruce Forsyth, and then you got to the show, and then it got 13 weeks. I think was up against the second half of The Price is Right. I think it took All-Star Blitz's time slot. Not gonna win there. As for Hot Trick itself, it's fine. Like, it wasn't a format I could get behind, personally. Identity, trash. Penn is not a game show host. Definitely not a game show host. And when it came to pacing of the show, I highlighted this in the video. I did a full-blown game show garbage induction of Identity. It's up on YouTube. Go watch it. It's probably one of my best ones. What I highlighted was with the second $500,000 winner. It was airing at 9, I think. If it aired at 9 o'clock, then this happened around 9:40, where she was down to 2. She knew what the last one was. She knew what the last identity was. She was getting ready to hit the button. Penn stops her and says, "We'll be right back." When come back from break, she locks it in. They spent 7 minutes talking about it. Penn teases by saying the 4 words that she wants to hear. And instead of the tagline, "Is that your identity?" he goes, "We'll be right back." It was bad. Got like 12 episodes. UK version did it better, though, with Donny Osmond as host, so you might want to check that out. It's worth what? This started the trend of, if you want a show to succeed, it wasn't the first episode, it was this, going back to Identity, somebody in the Twitch chat, Toffee Fever says, gave away the top prize on the first episode. It wasn't the first episode, it was the second episode. Second episode's when they gave it away. Still not great. Now we go to It's Worth What? Really awkward, not good, Price is Right ripoff with antiques. And this show started the trend of trying to shoehorn a Steve Harvey clone into a game show which didn't need it. I think this is one of the shows that I should have done an induction on when I was still doing them. Cedric the Entertainer is not good. Plus, he probably has the worst game show catchphrase of all time. "Are you sure? Really, Cedric? You're a comedian. You should be able to think on your feet and come up with a much better catchphrase than, 'Are you sure?'" He was okay, I guess, on Millionaire. I think he did that for 2 seasons. And then he did it for 1 or 2 seasons because he replaced Meredith Vieira. And then Terry Crews took over for 1 kind of awkward season. And then Chris Harrison took over until the show's cancellation in 2019? Yeah, 2019. 2019 is when the show got canceled. But moving on from It's Worth What? It's not worth talking about. Jeopardy goes here. You go here. So, yeah, I don't think we really need to talk that much about Jeopardy. We all know how good it is. There we go. Yeah, the Jep intro isn't good either. Alex Trebek's done a great job. Aside from the hosting cast fiasco, we'll call it. Was Mike done dirty? Kind of. But he could have stepped in and said, "No, I don't want this." But just the whole thing was handled badly. They righted the ship, though, of Ken. I would have been fine with Maim, but Ken was probably the better bridge. As for Jep, that was a written induction back in 2010, 2011. 2010 or 2011 is when I did them. Back when I was doing weekly written stuff. It was cheap. It was embarrassing. Bob Bergen is not a good game show host. Not a fan of dumping. Like, the first wrong answer was a warning. Second answer is we got to dump something on your head. And the third answer is we penalize you for a question, for a clue. You don't get to answer it. Which is... This was the reason why I think Jeopardy actually started doing Kids Weeks. Because they wanted a better version. Let's Ask America is next. Okay, so here's what Let's Ask America was. It's 4 contestants, and you were given poll questions. You have to figure out which one was number 1. And all of this was done with contestants at home. This was all done over the internet. The first 2 seasons with Kevin Pereira were fine. Then they decided to bork the format because they needed a Steve Harvey clone. Enter Bill Bellamy. Bill Bellamy was not a good host. And this is one of the weird shows that this was aired only on Scripps' own channels. Like, this got a blink, and if you blink, you'll miss it GSN run. Like, where they would air all of the old... Well, they aired the second Kevin Pereira season. They did not air the first season. And then they didn't air the Bill Bellamy season. What I saw of Let's Ask America, it's just fine. It's average. And then we get to Lingo. Logo is Chuck Woolery version. Yeah, GSN Lingo with Chuck Woolery is fantastic. Sure, the format is a little bit janky, but you know what? I don't care. It's good watching. It probably has the best bonus game out of all of them. I don't like No Lingo. I do think it's better than the current version of RuPaul because it actually has everything. Like, right now, to me, Lingo... It's based off the UK version. They don't have the bonus... They don't have... You know, the bingo cards or anything like that, which kind of differentiates it from Wordle. Like, the only reason the show got brought over to the States is because of Wordle. And with the Chuck Woolery version, they did use... For the first 20 shows, they used the Dutch set with U.S. expats in Holland. And it was fine. Let's Make a Deal. We'll just put Europe there. No need to talk about it. Even though Let's Make a Deal did have its high points and low points. High points. 70s version. 84 to 85, 86 version with Monty Hall. The current version of Wayne Brady. Low points. The Canadian version. But that's mainly due to... Catalina Productions not paying Stephen Haydas and Money Hall. The first half of the 90 version, Bob Hilton was kind of miscast. He was fine as True for Consequences host, but not as Let's Make a Deal host. And the less said about the Billy Bush version, the better. Match Game, yeah, instant classic. Can't go wrong with Match Game. Rayburn was the best host. As somebody who lives in Seattle and has watched a lot of Almost Live, all hail Russ Schaefer! Schaefer is a real. As for the Alec Baldwin version, I think he just hammed it up a bit too much. But I think with hamming it up, with that one with a lot, like Jack McBrayer and a couple others who were also on 30 Rock, like, so they just hammed it up, and that's the way they ran with it. Merv Griffin's crosswords, it's watchable. Ty Treadway is meh as host. It's just a bland crosswords show. Like, it doesn't have clever writing or a solid format to differentiate itself. Like Crosswords with Jack Clark or People Puzzler especially do it much better. Next one is Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour. Okay, Match Game. We're going to split this up into two ways. Match Game, still great. Hollywood Squares version, trash. What does that come out to in the average? You're right, it's watchable. Like, if you could get Mark Goodson to just produce the Match Game part, and then you have Meryl Heater to produce the Hollywood Squares part, you would be okay. As for what we got, Hollywood Squares version just killed the Hollywood Squares portion, just killed the show entirely. Then we have the 1,000,000-second quiz. Yeah, you go there. That was a Waney winner. Waney winner 2010 was Our Little Genius. 2011 was Love Triangle. The Aussie Price is Right Revival's 2012. 1,000,000-second quiz was, I think, 2013. No, 2013 or 2014. I think it was 2014. Yeah, 2014 was the year 1,000,000-second quiz won. Because 2013, I think, was Take It All. Just really awkward. The live parts that they did on the internet did not match the show itself. And the way that they treated the potential contestants was really shabby. We talked about this on, I want to say we talked about it on the induction. Some from a couple of contestants, like some that said they were qualified to be on the show, but then were told they weren't qualified to be on the show, were yanked out of line. Like, it was just bad. And then because the person who won at the end did not win enough to surpass Ken Jennings, who was still the one-time, like the one-shot winner with like $2.52 million, they added an additional $250,000 bonus when they didn't need to, so he could overtake Ken Jennings. That has since been eclipsed. Millionaire. Because of the clock format, because of the shuffle format, and because the show is just too goddamn impossible to win in the later stages of the syndicated version, it would have gone from goes from instant classic to simply just good. It's fine, but still, not good at all. As somebody brought up on the Twitch chat, Bowser on Magic of Hollywood Squares Hour was better on the Pop and Rocker game. Yeah, because that was more in tune to his strengths. That was because of his love for music, and it fit better than what happened on Magic Game Hollywood Squares Hour. $1 million money drop. You could just go there. Not too fond of the show. The bad question writing on the first episode. Then you had, yeah, post-it notes, exactly. I am not a fan of the host, like Kevin Kevin Pollock. Kevin Pollock was a bad host. Like, he was a comedian turned game show host. This is the only show that he. No, he did this show. He also did the first season of Celebrity Poker Showdown. He got replaced by Dave Foley after season one. And then that show went on to have a pretty darn good run until, like, 2010. And then we got the law banning online poker in the U.S. and that killed all poker programming on TV because a lot of the poker sites sponsored all that stuff, and once they couldn't be sponsored anymore, just down the tubes. Black Monday, exactly. Monopoly Millionaires Club, which was the lottery based game show. A lot of clever uses of the Monopoly license for a lot of the mini games, which I thought was pretty good. And then you have the 1990 show, which I'll stick at average. Billy Gardell was good as a host. I do like that the end game. I'll talk about both the lottery show and the game show in this one aspect because they both use the same bonus game, kind of. The Monopoly Millionaires Club had the Roll and Rocker. No, the Rock and Roller. Yeah, the Rock and Roller, where you stopped it, and some people actually won the million on that show, which is always really good. Out of the 2 years that it got, I think like four people won it. The only bad space on that show was go to jail, because if you hit go to jail, you lost everything. But along the way, you could pick up additional bonuses. And just the variety of the games that they had in tune with the Monopoly franchise made a lot of sense. Like, there are episodes of that still up on YouTube by the producers themselves. Go watch them. They were really well done. As for the 1990 version, Merv Griffin tried so hard to make the crossword clues work on another show that wasn't a category on Jeopardy. And he never could. Like, if I was Merv, I would have talked to Ralph Andrews, who produced Crosswits. Maybe work something out, maybe join forces to revive Crosswits in the 90s or the 2000s. But then Merv passed away in like 2006, 2007. And it's a shame. Newlywed Game is next. I'll put in good. On second thought, we'll stick it up there. Like, the original viral game show was the Newlywed Game, with all of its money moments. Like, if social media were around back in the 70s, like, Newlywed Game clips would definitely be shared highly. Like, the same... Going back to Monopoly, somebody was mentioned Merv and pilot host Peter Tiermaker were at odds. Yeah. Over the use of the of Rich Uncle Pennybags. They used a live Rich Uncle Pennybags as they used a small person to play the role of the live Rich Uncle Pennybags, which wasn't needed, and it wasn't in the ABC version, which they did as well by having a light border on the property. And Peter Tiermaker didn't like it, so he walked, and pilot contestant and former Jeopardy contestant Michael Riley hosted it. And can you say deer in headlights, folks? I knew you could. What were we talking about here? Newlywed Game. After the success of the dating game, the Newlywed Game just like far and away took that format, ran with it. Had a lot of ripoffs. Like, that's one thing I do want to talk about in the future on the YouTube channel. On YouTube is, game show ripoffs. Whether it be of a format, whether it be of an idea or a concept. That's something I want to talk about. Bob Eubanks, top notch. Jim Lang hosted a week of specials on ABC, and he did fine. But honestly, if you're not Bob Eubanks and to a lesser extent Sherry Shepherd, it just didn't work. Now you see it. This uses the Jack Nars logo. The format didn't work for me. It's a big no for me, dog. The Chuck Henry version had a stronger format. I am just not thrilled with Now You See It. Like, had a successful kids version in Australia. Like, there's this some off-the-wall Scottish version. Just word searches to me aren't generally exciting as game show format. And this format tried to simplify it, and it didn't work. Password, I think... Let me just take a look at something. Do they have... Okay. By the way, there's the rest of the shows that you'll be seeing. Password Plus, to me, in my opinion, is the best format of Password. It's because you had the original host out in London. You had Bill Cullen and Tom Kennedy hosting, which is like, if you're to do a Mount Rushmore of game show hosts, you could have all three of those people on the Mount Rushmore, and nobody would question it. And then you have solid gameplay format. However, I know people were balked at the no opposites rule that the show added on to make the game a little more challenging later on. But I think the music is the best one for Password. I do think that Alphabetics is the best bonus game for Password. And we'll just leave it at that. Pitfall. Throw it. It's average. Like, the front game is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Everything is about the end game. That big bridge, the elevators, trying to get like between 6 and 10 questions correct in 100 seconds. And it was fine. I just wish... I kind of want to see more episodes of it. To maybe I can form a better opinion on it. But I think those episodes are lost. Yeah, and those elevators were a safety hazard. Press Your Luck. Yep, you go there. And the reason you go up there is because it was a simple format, very fun to play, and to be quite honest, nothing wrong with it. Finally, after years of development hell, the movie is coming out with Paul Walter Hauser playing Michael Larson. And if you see the still of Paul Walter Hauser as Michael Larson, it is uncanny. Very uncanny. Remote control, I think, is great. Yeah. Now we're gonna see some of the stuff get chopped off. Actually, hold on. Let me try something here with. Let me see if that looks better on. Yeah. Okay. That looks better. Remote control. I love the format. I love the TV trivia. It did something different. It was very irreverent, and Ken Ober was a good host. Like, it was the perfect storm. And sadly, it all fell apart once Kari left, because then Alicia wasn't that good. Susan Ashley was fine. They brought in more people. Like, they brought in Dennis Leary. And, yeah, it just never clicked. Like, true story, I just recently bought a whole bunch of promotional slides for the syndicated version of Remote Control. And one of the slides is Dennis Leary as Andy Warhol. Because that was a very popular channel in the 4th season of Remote Control, was Andy's Diary, where he did Andy Warhol kind of like as a ghost or something like that. Anyway. Russian Roulette is good. That is GSN, Mark L. Wahlberg. Like, the first 2 rounds were not that fun, not that great. Round 3, where you could actually take the question yourself or challenge, I think is a lot better. I kind of wish they had that option in the first 2 rounds, but I understand why they wanted to challenge, just to make sure that if you lost your money, you lost it to somebody, and it didn't have to be split 3 ways until somebody fell through a hole in the floor. And I think that is why. Sale of the Century is next. We'll just stick that. I can't throw it in Instant Classic. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But the Winner's Big Money Game killed it. And aside from that, it was fantastic. It's just like that bonus game just stuck out like a sore thumb. I can't defend it. And then we have Scrabble, which I'm just going to throw here in Instant Classic. I think it's better than Sale of the Century. The crossword clues, Chuck as a host with a word game. You can never go wrong with Chuck hosting a word game. And even though it changed formats midstream, like it went from a straddling format to a self-contained format, it actually improved with the self-contained format. And you had the 93 version, which was good, just not as good as the 80s version. Sure, it was cheaper, but it was still Scrabble all the same. And oddly enough, the 93 version had the biggest jackpot in the show's history, where it had a $20,500 jackpot before the bonus grew to $20,500 before somebody hit it and won it. But and it's also because you raised the format by hitting the pink and blue squares in the front game $500 for a blue square, $1,000 for a pink square. But it was fine. Shop till you drop. It's a game full of prizes, and I absolutely love it. You talk about a guilty pleasure show, for me, Shop Till You Drop is it. And to me, there's no excuses. I love Shop Till You Drop. I think Pat Finn is a fantastic host. You had, I think the one knock I would have against Shop Till You Drop is that first Family Channel season with Jason as the sidekick. And it was just weird. Like, he wasn't as sharp as Mark L. Wahlberg or as dynamic or really multi-talented as D. Bradley Baker was. But he was fine. He got replaced after that one season. And then D. Baker took his position for the second season of the Family Channel version, was only 65 episodes. And then when it moved to PAX, the 180 episodes that Pat Finn still did for them. And yeah, I love the show. I think it's great. And I will fight people who say it isn't. Show Me the Money is bad, and if you like it, you should feel bad. That's another video that I did way back when. You should go check it out. Split Second. I think it's good. Like, if you haven't watched the current version with John Michael Higgins on Game Show Network, go do that right now. I think it's one of the best revivals that has come out in recent memory. And it actually came up with a bonus game that made sense with the format. So, good on them. Next up is Super Password. Super Password's great. Like, I think my opinion on Bert Convy has softened. And my opinion on the show itself has softened. Like, if you were talking to me about it 5 years ago, I'd probably stick it in good. But Super Password's still great. Like, I love Cashword. And if you got the right pair of celebrities to be on Super Password, it worked. You would have some duds on that show, though. Like, if you got stuck with Tom Poston, you weren't winning the bonus game. If you got stuck with... I'm trying to think of some other bad celebrities who are on that show. Dick Christie from Small Wonder. Dionne Warwick was a celebrity on that show for some odd reason. It just didn't work. Take It All is garbage. That is a Waiting Winner 2013 White Elephant game show, and The Prisoner's Dilemma, in my opinion, is the second worst format crutch. The second worst gimmick of all time for game shows. What is the first? Watch for a video over the summer. There'll be a top 5 worst game show crutches or gimmicks. And you'll see why. Tattletales. Look all good. I think it's fine. You know, it's like Newlywed Game for celebrities. And you can't go wrong with that. And it had a lot of good moments on that show, too. And there's a lot of lore to go with Tattletales. Like how after each show taped, there would just be this automatic check printout machine where the contestants would be handed checks for like $1, $2, something like that. Because if you were part of the winning rooting section. And they would have, and after the show, you know, you're kind of hungry, you probably want to go out to lunch. And there would be places there would say, we take Tattletale's checks. Yeah, because you instead of winning like $1 or $2, you won about $12 or $13, which is pretty darn good. Temptation is trash. The reason Temptation is trash is just watch an episode. No, quickly. Sale of the Century without being Sale of the Century. Sale of the Century on a budget does not work. Sale of the Century, when you typecast everything to be featured around female demographics, does not work. Which is why when one of the few times a man was on the show, a man would wind up winning the car. Oh, by the way, the car was a mid-level car, which hardly got over $25,000. The show was cheap. And that was bad. Rossi was bad. Like, the music bed was horrendous. It was just not good. The Big Showdown. I'm gonna throw it in good. Like, Jim Peck is fine as a host. Like, I like Jim Peck. Like, this might be the best show, quote-unquote, Jim Peck has hosted. Honestly, I think he did a better job as a sub-host on The Joker's Wild and hosting Second Chance than he did on The Big Showdown. But this was Jim Peck's first show, and he did a darn good job with it. Sadly, I think the only reason that this show is remembered and Jim Peck is remembered is when he fell down the stairs. Aside from that, that's it. And the show was destroyed. Like a lot of shows from the 70s. Like, here's a breakdown that I have. CBS saved almost everything after 1962, game show-wise. They exist. So, Daytime Password and Daytime to Tell the Truth exist in black and white. When it comes to ABC, they stopped wiping everything after 78. Mark Goodson was a big progenitor on this because ABC Password, Show-Offs, and The Better Sex got wiped for Family Feud. He hated that. Absolutely hated it. So ABC stopped in 78, and I'm kind of thankful for that because that saved Pyramid. I think Newlywed Game got saved, or a lot of Newlywed Game got saved. And that's all there is to it. The Chair with John McEnroe, I'm going to say average. It's an average show. Just going to scroll down so you see what... I need to see what's coming up. I'm trying to think of a reason why it's average. And, like, the stress test, the heart rate, trying to keep it down, I think is interesting. I just think it was done better on 1,000 Heartbeats. McEnroe as a host was brilliant casting. And some of the Heartstoppers were too goofy for their own good, to be honest. Like, sure, there's a lot of sparklers or animals or, you know, a lot more could have been done with those Heartstoppers. I think the set kind of limited everything. Like, I would have loved to see a flat set, you have the chair and everything, strapped in and everything, and then for a Heartstopper, like, a brawl would... Like, you have professional wrestlers come out and brawl. And we're going to get to that, Toffee Fever. Don't worry, we're getting to that really soon. you had a lack of space for. You could have done some really amazing heart stoppers. And the format, they varied the questions on that show, which I love. It had a variety. It could have been better. Yeah, you know what? Toffee brought it up. Um, we'll stick it there because I think the big thing is a contestant almost died on that show. True story. A contestant almost died on that show. He faced a cold chamber. And he was the only one to have actually lasted all 7 rounds. He won like 23,000. Like, he didn't get 25 questions correct. And if he did get 25 questions correct, he tripled the money, and that chamber would have been retired, and a new chamber would take its place. The problem with that is that never happened. And it was 6 episodes were made, 3 episodes aired before it was pulled, mainly because the ratings were awful. And the person who I talked about earlier sued the show because immediately afterwards he had hypothermia, had to go to the ER. He sued the show and won a $100,000 lawsuit. He won more in the lawsuit than he did on the show. When you could win more in a lawsuit against a show and the show, that's bad. And also rushed production because there were quite a few moments on the show where the contestant was talking and you couldn't hear a word out of his mouth. Same thing for Schwartz. Then you wait like 2-3 seconds, then you hear the audio. This thing was rushed all to hell. And it is such... I don't know if this was before or after Dan Snyder bought Dick Clark Productions. And speaking of Dick, I'm going to say it's probably after he bought Dick Clark Productions. So we could actually blame Dan Snyder, because Dan Snyder ruins everything and is an awful human being. Dick Clark, on the other hand, has a show called The Challengers, and it is great. In regards to the Challengers, I'll scroll up here just so you, put it right there and great. There's gonna be a lot of scrolling here because there are a lot of shows. The Challengers wasn't the best show, but in that cesspool of 1990, all of the new shows that debuted, just the new shows, not the ones that were currently on the air, but the new shows, it was probably the cream of the crop. But the show needed to be a runaway success in order for it to get a season 2 because of all the money that was poured in and everything. And it didn't happen. Washington football team, Dan Snyder. Magnificent Marble Machine is worth a watch, I guess. About Magnificent Marble Machine, it was a pinball, like the big thing was a pinball machine. And it was not designed all that well. Then you had... this show had 2 gimmicks that I detest. The big thing doesn't work or isn't great, and switching to all-star format midstream. And I think there's a couple of episodes out there. One's from the civilian version, in great format, in great qualities. We can see how the show works clearly. And then there's some garbled up episode. I think with an all-star version, which wasn't fun to watch. Tic-Tac-Doe, it's coming back. Under what format, I don't know. Um, but it's an instant classic. I love the Wink Martindale version / Jim Caldwell version. Jim Caldwell did a good job, even though he did a better job on Top Guard. Patrick Wayne's version was still tic-tac-toe. It was still there. Everything else around it wasn't that good. The Dragon bonus game was fun. And when it comes to the questions, I think they set it up to where Joker's Wild was a little less intelligence needed. If you knew quite a bit about pop culture, you were fine there. Tic-Tac-Toe was a lot more serious. And he only rapped for about 30 episodes, by the way. And speaking of the Joker's Wild, we're just going to stick you in Instant Classic. I think Joker's Wild is fantastic. I think Joker's Wild with Snoop Dogg is wonderful. I am probably one of the few people that will defend the 1990 version, even though its only biggest sin was it was called the Joker's Wild. And I talked about this on Facebook a little while ago. I've actually purchased some slides, some promotional slides from 2 game shows. One of them was remote control, the other one is the 1990 version of Joker's Wild. Oddly enough, on the eBay listing for the Joker's Wild slides, it listed Bill Cullen as a host. And to be perfectly honest, I'm shocked that was still on there, because if those were actual 1984-86 Bill Cullen Joker's Wild slides, I guarantee you those would not be on eBay, because Adam Neediff or Matt Ottinger would have snapped those up instantly. Next one is The Price is Right. Yeah, we're just going to stick you right up there in Instant Classic. We don't need to talk about why. Trivia Trap. This was Mark Goodson's last original game show. It's the last one, because everything else he did after that was revivals. Because Trivia Trap was October 84. What was released after that, before Mark Goodson's death? Nighttime Price is Right with Tom Kennedy. Card Trucks with Bob Eubanks and Bill Rafferty. Blockbusters with Bill Rafferty. Family Feud with Ray Combs. Now You See It. Well, Classic Concentration with Alex Trebek. Now You See It with Chuck Henry. To Tell the Truth with Gordon Elliott. Match Game with Ross Schaefer. Every show was a revival until he passed away. As for Trivia Trap itself, it's average. Bob was probably the best thing about the show. The theme was fine. It just couldn't hold on to a format. Trying to pick off the right answers and leave the one wrong answer just wasn't that good. And then they switched formats and just made it into a generic as all hell quiz show. With the only gimmick being juniors and seniors. If you're under the age of 30, you're a junior. If you're over the age of 30, you're a senior. There's just so much weirdness with that show. It's another episode I have to do for 26 weeks or less. It's on the docket. Trivial Pursuit. Might want to talk about this one for 26 weeks or less, because it only had 130 episodes. But average. Like, when I say it's average, it's not bad. It's just, like, it's there. It takes up space. As for, like, I've never seen a good, like, a Trivial Pursuit-based game show I would consider good. Maybe the new one that's coming up with LeVar Burton on CW will be better. I think the problem with the Wink Martindale version, it was just too conveyor belt for my tastes. Now, granted, when it was originally on the air, it was an hour long, because you had the qualifier, And then you had that, which was the first half hour. The second half hour, you had the actual game. And to those watching on the Twitch chat, I want to say hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. And I just everybody's doing all right. Late night Tiermaker, gotta love it. Trump card is next. I did a Games of 90 for this. It is painfully average. Set looks beautiful though. I thought about doing a version of Trump card or Bob's Full House, or as I would have called it, Cindy's Full House, on Twitch, but like I still have the I could get the program and everything like that. It's just it didn't run well. I think with the new internet that I have, with the new computer that I have, it could run a lot better. Like, I'm streaming right now, and it's only using up 2.3% of my CPU. So that tells you how powerful this thing is. As for the show itself, it's just a basic quiz show. And, yeah. Everything about the show was average apart from the set. Russell Gamer's asking, looking forward to the 1% Club. Yes, I am. I know it's on Prime Video. I have not seen it yet. And what I'm asking is, please don't spoil. When it comes to anything like that. When it comes to anything new shows, please don't spoil. 21 with... I can't, in good conscience, put it anywhere except for average. The first version was rigged. The Maury Povich version suffered from millionaire syndrome, to where it had two money ladders, and you had Maury as a host. Maury was fine. NBC would show more faith in other formats than they would on other games. Weakest Link. It's good. It's good. I like it. I like the George Gray version more than I do the Ann Robinson version. Z-Rabbit says, like I said, I'm tempted to call Trump card trash because of who it's associated with. Yeah, need not say more about that. Like I say, just call it Bob's Full House, or One to Win, or I forget what the third version of that show was called in 95 in the UK. Just call it that, it'll be fine. As for Weakest Link, the George Gray version is fantastic. I am not a fan of the Jane Lynch version that's out right now, because I do not like the final round, like round 6. After that, you then go to the head-to-head. And which means your job is to vote out the strongest Link, just so you can win money. Don't like it. Ann Robinson version, I think, is good. I just like the George Gray version a bit better. Whammy, the all-new Press Your Luck. I think it's good. It's good. Todd Newton's good. The amount given away on Game Show Network for a random episode's like anywhere between 6 to 10K. That's fine. Another thing about it's also one of the few shows that actually did a tournament well. Like the returning champ, like they had 9 winners come back to play off for a car, and I think it was good. Wheel 2000 can just get stuck right there. Although to be fair, for that version, David Sidoni was a good host. He tried. Like, David Sidoni also did Mad Libs on Disney Channel, and he did a good job there, too. I wonder what he's up to. Anyway, Cyber Lucy was... I think what you're seeing with Cyber Lucy back then, it cost a lot of money to do. If you see VTubers, that's exactly what you're getting. Done better. And going back to Whammy, somebody says, I love the claymation Whammy animations. That was not claymation. That was actual 3D animation, and it was a treat. Going back to Wheel 2000, like, if they didn't have the physical stunts, if they just did straightforward Wheel of Fortune, it would have been fine. But it was also cheap as hell. Like, the grand prize could have been a limo ride to a school for the week. Not a good idea. Like, you could have had the grand prize be a whole bunch of Sony stuff. Like, you get a PlayStation, you get a TV, you get a stereo, you get a VCR. Worth about $1,000, and kids would be thrilled to death with it. Because who wouldn't want a PlayStation, a stereo, a good-sized TV, and a VCR back then? You know what? I'm talking myself into it. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll throw it in average. Winning lines. This is not an indictment on the show, but because the only reason that show is memorable is because of the Wonder Wall. It's like the format was just... speaking of somebody... This is a good question. Now when I answer it. Eldritch Faye asks on Twitch, speaking of failed VTubers, remember that Foxine game that had all of the contestants as VTubers but felt very cheap and like corporate art style? Oh god, yeah, I remember it. I don't remember the name, but I do remember it. It's like Mass Sing... Like, they already had it with Mass Singer. And it wasn't good. Like, you already had Mass Singer. And I'm just blanking on the name. Like, I don't remember the name, but I think it was just like They did it like Mass Singer. Like the singing competition was like Mass Singer. They didn't have the guessing format of Mass Singer. They didn't have that hook. Thank you, Poker Lady, Alter Ego. Yeah, it was not good. We've got a few more left, so we'll plow through them. Winning streak. I need to do a game show garbage for that. It is probably Bob Stewart's worst game show. Close with personality. It was not good at all. The question format that they had is a progenitor to Blockbusters. And the way to qualify was you had to spell out a word on your podium. It didn't work as well as it should. And they advertised a grand prize of $100,000, and it was impossible to get. In order to get it, you had to get 12 answers in a row in your part of the bonus game, and then you have to win the head-to-head. And they later changed the format to where they capped it so you couldn't win $100,000. You could barely win $10,000. It was bad. Wipeout with Peter Tiermaker. This is not the big balls Wipeout, but it's still good. Like, I like the big question wall that they have for it. And Peter was still sharp. It just came out at a time where it wouldn't, no matter what was debuting in '88, nothing was lasting. The theme is great. The theme is great. The set is great. The format, I think, was done better in the UK. I think the UK had the fairer format where you played 2 or 3 boards. But then again, they had more time. The challenge round is the challenge round. But yeah. There's not much to say about it. I do like the cards, the grand prize. Like, I thought, because it did well on USA, like, I kind of wish USA had, taken more chances on some of the shows that died. And they aired the reruns. Like, Wipeout is a show I think they could have taken a chance on. You could just lower the grand prize instead of a car, have it be a wonderful trip. Or maybe $5,000, I don't know. But what they probably want to do is probably just latch onto it in Canada. And then you probably can get Peter to host. Let's see. Next up, Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, we're just going to stick you up here. I think Wheel of Fortune is top-notch. And just recently, as we recorded this, I think it was on Thursday, we had probably what's going to be the last great viral moment of Pat Sajak's career on Wheel of Fortune. Right in the butt. I wonder how many times you see that on Grindr. Anyway. Do we really need to talk a lot about Wheel of Fortune? I don't think so. I think everybody gets it. The money, the format, the Vanna, the money, Vanna. She sells yarn! Anyway. The music, the gameplay, it's just all top notch. I am looking forward to see how Ryan Seacrest does in September. And that is going to be interesting to watch. Your Number's Up. That is another show I need to do for 26 weeks or less. It's good. Yeah, we'll call it good. We'll say Your Number's Up is good. I love the split question format that they have. I also love the play-along factor of the people in the audience. I think the bonus game is fantastic. To be fair, though, it comes crashing down with Nipsey Russell. Nipsey is not a good host. He never was. You could tell he would just empty out his joke book several times over on certain shows, and it just never panned out. Nipsey Russell's one of the best panelists who should never have become a host. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? I think it's average. I think it's an average show. With Jeff Foxworthy, it was fun. I think this. I think like Deal or No Deal. I think the syndicated version was a lot better than the actual Fox $1 million nighttime version. Either one of them, because I know they brought this back in for like a blink and you miss it 2015 run. Then you had the most recent version with the Nickelodeon version with John Cena. Changed up the format quite a bit and improved it. Although what that show was doing on Nickelodeon was well beyond me. And then we have the upcoming Jason Kelsey. Who's hosting? Jason or Travis? Travis Kelsey is hosting. Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity? Which is, I think, a celebrity-based version of Fifth Grader, which I don't know. I'll wait and see what happens with that, even though Travis Kelsey is becoming clearly the David Guest to Taylor Swift's Elizabeth Taylor in that relationship. Like, I want to like the Chiefs. I just don't want them to win 3 in a row. I just don't want them to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. Their fan base is going to be immediately insufferable. They might take the mantle from Leafs fans and Yankees fans and Cowboys fans from being the most entitled and being the most unbearable. Blackout with Bob Goen. I'll just stick it in average. It's an average show. It's fine. The problem with Blackout... the problem with Blackout is it tried to be too cute for its own good. Like, I like the mute button aspect. I just don't... the way it was implemented didn't work, especially with the puzzles. Honestly, when it comes to... I just don't know if it... like, it was just there. It was just there, like... It replaced Pyramid. It then got replaced by Pyramid for a 13-week run before Family Feud Free Combs took over. I just don't like it. I think it's fine, but I can't place it more than average. Brain Surge. I absolutely adore Brain Surge. Like, I love... like, we talked about Recall and how it didn't quite work in Hitman because it wasn't visually interesting. With Brain Surge, it was visually interesting. It was enjoyable. And I also loved the end game, which was this light path you had to follow. The 4x4, the 5x5, and then the 6x6, which was hard. But once you see a kid solve that 6x6 and get the sliming of a lifetime, living out a dream that a lot of us wanted to do on Nickelodeon, that's the prize. It wasn't a trip. It wasn't a toy. It was the experience of being slimed on Nickelodeon and seeing millions upon millions of kids see you get slimed and have a great time. Beat the Clock. Yeah, I think it's great. Like, it's the original stunt show. It was weird. It was entertaining. I did not like the bonus shuffle. Like, the 79 version of Beat the Clock. Look, this is not an exercise in talking about all these great shows, great to awful shows, but a lot of this is also an exercise for talking about shows I want to do for 26 weeks or less. I just don't have the time to edit a lot of it. I could write it, shoot it, I just don't have time to edit it. As for All of the other formats of Beat the Clock, I thought all of them were done well. Even the PAX version with Gary Kroger. Monty on the 79 version was the only good thing about that show. The only thing I would consider fantastic. The shows shot in Canada, the Gene Wood episodes, I thought was good. And the Jack Nars episodes were fine. But the Bud Collyer version will be tops. And also they did a version on Discovery Kids, which is quite adorable. If you could find an episode of the not Discovery Kids, but the Universal Kids version of Beat the Clock, it's interesting. Family Challenge. Just another average show. The thing with Family Challenge is sad. Like, it was just a bunch of games strung together. Some days it had a theme, some days it didn't. Ray Combs was able to tie it together. I think for me, when it comes with Family Challenge, the couple episodes that I have seen, like, he was... It seemed like it wasn't Ray Combs. Like, you ever watch a wrestler, you know, like, who's like 20 years past his prime, and he's either coked up, roided up, drugged up. Like, it was still him, but it really wasn't him. It was not good. There are episodes where he was good on Family Challenge. There were episodes where he wasn't good. Unfortunately, a lot of those were right there. And then you had the new Family Challenge, which I give credit to Family Channel for trying to keep it going. They tried to include more audience participation. They made an outdoor show with Michael Berger. Berger was fine. However, I think Berger was overextending himself a lot, because not only did he do 2 hours a day live on the Family Channel with Home and Family, he was also doing the new Family Challenge. The funny thing about the new Family Challenge is, and I talked about this when I did look at the schedule for the for the Family Channel when they did their big block in '96. After a few months, like I think in January of '97, the show got moved to weekends to burn off the rest of the episodes, and I kind of, maybe looking back, maybe they should have just, once the untimely passing of Ray, they probably shouldn't have had it on. Like, once you have that humongous specter around your neck, it's just kind of hard to do. Friend or foe, I'm throwing it, it's watchable. It's not average. It's watchable. I just hate The Prisoner's Dilemma, even though this show's probably the best use of The Prisoner's Dilemma. Just the rest of the format is just too slow. And the potential partners thing, I just don't like. I really don't. Funhouse is great. It is great. If you're a kid and you didn't have cable, you watched Funhouse. And J.D. Roth was great. I like the stunts. Those stunts, I think, a few of those stunts were done a lot better on Funhouse, even though some of them ripped off Double Dare stunts. Funhouse somehow did it better. And There are days where if you ask me, I will say the Funhouse endgame is better than the obstacle course. There are days where that happens. Just those days probably fall on leap day, but there are days. Um, I like the Grand Prix race, and if you watch the UK version of Funhouse, it is far and away amazing what that show can become. Gambit is great. I think it's a great show. This was the progenitor to High Rollers. Like High Rollers was craps. This was blackjack, and with a good budget behind it. Either the original CBS version, or the short-lived year-long Las Vegas Gambit with Wink Martindale. I think that was good too. Hollywood Showdown. It's good. Like the front, like it rips off Jackpot, but Jackpot was a format begging to be revived, and Jackpot is not on any of the was not in the listings. And I'll say this: if I did have Jackpot near, I would have thrown it in great. As for Hollywood Showdown, Todd Newton proved that he was a good host, and I think it's the strength off of Hollywood his hosting on Hollywood Showdown is why he got Whammy. We're getting that. That's next, Eldritch. Don't worry, we'll talk about that. And also, the budget was pretty, which it set the standard for Game Show Network. Like before Hollywood Showdown, the most you could win maybe was $1,000, $2,000 on a show. Like I know Super Decades and Trivia Track sometimes could win over $1,000. Hollywood Showdown, the jackpot started at $10,000. There were some weeks which was Box Office Bonanza, which doubled the jackpot, where you could win a jackpot almost $30,000, which was big money for Game Show Network. Now, granted, the episodes were also wearing on packs, so they probably shared some of the costs. But, it happens. I think it could come back. Probably not in the new way GSN's doing originals, because they don't like straddling, they don't like week-long stuff. Moment of Truth. It's trash. I'm going to go, it's trash, but it's important trash. Gross can be done right. Queen for a Day was proof that trash can be done right. Or gross can be done right, as I called it. Gross can be done right. Moment of Truth almost gets there. Almost gets there. But it doesn't. The problem with... And then you have Mark L. Wahlberg, who hosted... Well, he gave it socks. It's just that it was too gross. Especially... There's a clip of the only $500,000 question being asked. And... it was pretty bad. That's the UK version. And I think that was the moment that got the UK version pulled. And that show had Jerry Springer on. I think it could work if Maury hosted it. Could you imagine Moment of Truth with Maury Povich? Like, it just makes so much sense. Oh, it's the Columbia version. Interesting. Supermarket sweep. Do 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 do. Throwing turkeys and hams in a cart. Do 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 do. And she was promptly arrested, and the show got canceled. Back to Supermarket Sweep. It is amazing how this show has survived in the minds, thanks to the buzzer grabbing the rights from Al Howard. Almost all of the Lifetime episodes start from the first year. A couple episodes from the first year aired. But almost all of the Lifetime episodes aired. A good amount of the PAX episodes have aired. And it's got its own dedicated channels on Pluto and other streamers like I think Tubi has it, Roku TV's got it, and What a Time to Be Alive. I would love to see a revival of Supermarket Sweep done more like the 90 to 2000 version. I just don't think it needs to be for $100,000. Like, it'd have been perfect for $25,000. But that's just me. The revival with Leslie Jones, honestly, I think she's in that camp of Steve Harvey ripoff. Like, every show's got to have a comedian who tries to make a viral moment. And it kind of worked with Leslie Jones. It just didn't pan out. And ratings were good. I guess they just didn't want a season 3. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because they wanted live audience. They wanted shows with a good live audience, or they probably just don't want to deal with her. That's the question. GSN show, it's average. Like, it's Wheel of Fortune with trivia. That's all it is. Just without a wheel. And I'm not a fan of it. And then Think Fast, it's watchable. It's not trash, but it's watchable. To Tell the Truth is an absolute classic. There is good in any version of To Tell the Truth that you could watch, and it is a joy, and it is a joy and a half. Even the Robin Ward version had very important moments on that show. Sure, Tom McKee was on there, who was a big winner on Tic Tac Doe, was a contestant on To Tell the Truth. But with Robin Ward's version, you had Larry King. John McLaughlin was on that show. Rosa Parks was on that show. Yes, Rosa Parks appeared on To Tell the Truth on Robin Ward's version. Mark Goodson has said that it is his favorite show that he ever created in To Tell the Truth. And sometimes I forget that the Anthony Anderson version lasted 7 seasons. 7. We completely forget about it sometimes. But it had a good long run. And don't be shocked if you see it on Buzzer soon. Don't be shocked. Like, I think a lot of the primetime game shows that they air that aren't on the air anymore might end up on weekends. I know ABC has some sort of fast channel with their primetime with Fun and Games. It all depends. Win, lose, or draw. I'm going to throw it in good. Like, the Rob Weller version was awful. Burt Convey's version was fun. So was the Vicki Lawrence version. Like, Vicki Lawrence, at the last 4 months of her version, introduced, like, the multiplier bonus game, and it was a progenitor of what you saw on the Rob Weller version. Even though Rob Weller had it capped at 5,000, you can go on a good run on that where you could rattle off 10, and I think you got like 25,600. Like, I know somebody was on there and won a lot of money. And I didn't watch the revival on Disney Channel like a decade ago. I didn't watch it, never saw it. I heard it was fine. So I'm going to say it's good. I'm not going to call it great. America Says is good. Yeah, Family Feud takeoff, however, the way they did it was smart. You had the first letter, and you figured it out from that first letter. So it made it more word game style than just poll questions. Even though the answers were from a poll, it played like a word game. It was good. And John Michael Higgins proved he was such a good host on America Says. They got split second, and he's even more fantastic on split second. Like, it was a breeding ground, and it worked. Candy Crush, trash. I did a game show garbage video on Candy Crush. It was just awful. Cram is average. Grandma Elwood is fine. And just the gimmick of staying up 24 hours is... You gotta be some sort of madman to stay up for 24 hours. I admit, I've done it before. I've stayed up a couple of times playing video games for 24 hours. Like, I would start at noon one day, start at noon another day, end at noon the next day. I can't do that anymore. And I know, like I talked about 2-Minute Drill with JB Henry XIV on his own channel. Yeah, Icy was the best part, of course. And the bonus game was fine. The balancing, or otherwise the question gets restarted, which I love that gimmick. Divided. I have never done a video on the Game Show Network version of Divided. How do you take the British version and make it worse? I don't know how they did it, but they did it. To be perfectly honest about Divided, I'll talk about Divided in a bit. Somebody asked, where would I rank Loteria Loca if we're on here? I'd probably put it in average. Like, looking back, Loteria Loca was fine. There was so many problems. Like, watching a couple of episodes where you could be forced into a no-win situation. And it would be based on the challenges. And it would just ruin everything. Then, yeah, then we talk. Let's get to Divided. Mike Richards hosted this show. Mike is, I would consider Mike a capable host. He just needs the right format. I thought he was fine on Pyramid. He did the Pyramid on Game Show Network and it was good. And he tried to be like some sort of crapster on Divided and it just didn't work. Then they jinked up the format where it was 4 people and then near the middle point you had to get rid of one, and it caused, they purposely caused chaos with the casting. Like, the memory that sticks in my crawl so much is that you had an out trans woman as a contestant and an absolute transphobe on the same team. And they hyped it to the gills, like, this is the first trans contestant we're having on Game Show Network, woohoo! Except they did it 5 years earlier on Baggage. Which was her baggage? Her baggage was, I'm trans. You think... Ugh. God. I hate Divided. It's... There's a good friend of mine, his name is Jordan Haas. He does a game show podcast called Game Shows, I Suppose. And he has 3 shows that has gotten a 0 out of 5. I don't know if he's done Divided, the Game Show Network version of Divided. I think he has like a 0.25 or a 0.5 out of 5. Divided is just awful. Just terrible. We're over 2 hours. Baggage is like a timestamp, absolutely. It has, some of it is aged poorly, like it is a product of the early 2010s. We're just gonna talk about these 3 quickly. Temple is classic, probably in the top 3 kids game shows of all time. Bumper Stumpers is good. Although, if there's like some sort of mid-range point between good and great, that's where Bumper Stumpers would go. I'll stick it in good. And the Great Getaway Game is average. It's a word search game mixed with a quiz game. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that is a show lost to time. Like, there's a couple of episodes out there, but... And it's also got the funniest thing. Like, the pilot for the Great Getaway Game, Jim Caldwell hosted it. Probably around the same time he was getting ready to host, or was already hosting, Top Card on the National Network. When the show made it to air on the Travel Channel, no less, Wink Martindale became the host. And plus, it was also a trade-off. Wink Martindale got some producing credits and also taught these new... They were new to producing television, a jolt. Like, say, no, this is how you do it, and all these things, and it was just fantastic. I think... Yeah, somebody who worked on that show posted that on the Games in 98 did on the Great Getaway Game. So let's quickly go over my tiers. Instant Classics, $25,000, $100,000 Pyramid, Card Shark, Classic House, Scratch, Double Dare, Family Feud, Hollywood Squares, Jeopardy, Let's Make a Deal, Magic Game, Password Plus, Pressure Like, Scrabble, Tic-Tac-Toe, Joker's Wild, Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, Tell the Truth, Legends and Temple. Great tier, 1 vs. 100, Blockbusters, Concentration, Debt, High Rollers, Lingo, Newlywed Game, Remote Control, Sale of the Century, Shop to You Drop, Super Password, The Challengers, Brain Surge, Beat the Clock, Funhouse, Gambit, Supermarket Sweep. In the good tier, $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime, the $50,000 Pyramid, Break the Bank, Caesar's Challenge, Camouflage, Chain Reaction, Deal or No Deal, Greed, Hot Potato, Millionaire, Monopoly Millionaires Club, Russian Roulette, Split Second, Tattletales, The Big Showdown, Weakest Link, Whammy, the all-new Pressure Luck. Wipeout, Your Number's Up. Hollywood Showdown, Losers Draw, America Says. Bumper Stumpers on the average tier. Child's Play, Double Dare, Alex Trebek, Bruce Forsyth's Hot Streak, Let's Ask America. Monopoly, the 1990 version, Now You See It. Pitfall, The Chair, Trivia Trap, Trivial Pursuit, Trump Card, 21, Winning Lines, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Blackout, Family Challenge, That's the Question, Cram, and The Great Getaway Game. In Watchable tier, Bullseye, Hitman, Murderers, Crosswords, Magic Game, Hollywood Squares, The Magnificent Marble Machine, Wheel of Fortune 2000, Friend or Foe, and Think Fast, and the absolute trash tier, Bargain Hunters, Identity, It's Worth What, Jep, Million-Second Quiz, $1 Million Money Drop, Show Me the Money, Take It All, Temptation, The Chamber, Winning Streak, The Moment of Truth, Candy Crush, and Divided. Phew. And that is the Tiermaker. It's done. It took us 2 hours, but it's done. And I'd like to thank everybody for watching this marathon of a Tiermaker. I hope you enjoy it. We will be back in the future doing more game show Tiermakers on Twitch and on YouTube. And I just want to thank everybody for watching either way. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow the channel on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. And if you want to support Game Show Gumbo on YouTube, help get videos out quicker, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. Get your name in the credits in future videos. Excuse me. It's the curry I had tonight. It's coming back to haunt me. Like Divided. That show sucks. Anyway. This took a lot longer than anticipated, so we'll just do an extended dance remix on Monday for Dr. Mario and Mega Man 3 and 4. I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and we will see you next time on YouTube.